everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and we are down here in the freakishly fantastic studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. Well, all right, guys, look, here we are. Right now, you wonder, well, where is it whenever you're taping in time, the time continuum? It is right at the cusp of October. And this will come out just at the beginning of October. So we are at that time of season change. And sometimes seasons do change for us. And sometimes those seasons change unexpectedly. Well, that's what this week's message is about, my friends. Sometimes when we wake up, we have a plan. We have a game plan. We're going to go through that day. And then we have something bigger beyond that, maybe the next week or the next month or the next year. And we're working towards goals and we're living life. But ever so often, seasons will just change in an instant for anybody, for any reason, unexpectedly. And then it's up to us. What do we do next? So bad things are going to happen to good people. And the idea is, what do you do when that happens? Because the incident does not have to describe or define the individual. It's how do they bounce back? How do they move forward? Where is the inspiration? Well, this week's guest is going to bring you some of that. I promise you, you stick with us, you listen to the end, you're going to leave out of here just feeling much better about your life and where you're going, and understanding that even when life does come up and happen to you, and it will in lots of ways, that there is a path forward. So my guest this week is Mr. Devon Rickett. Mr. Devon is a strong young man. I wrote down so I didn't want to forget. So 23 years old. He's only 23 years old right now. I actually knew his dad probably 23 years ago, to be quite honest with you. We started out as firefighters down in Walls, Mississippi, and you just never know when paths are going to cross again. And so this story has been around for a few years now, and I knew about him. Have never met Devon until today, but he's come into the studio. He wants to share his personal story, and I know you guys are going to get a lot out of it. So at this time, let's welcome in Mr. Devon Rickett. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Look, sorry about the weather. It's raining. I put an order in for sunny weather, and then they didn't listen.
It's all good. I can get around it.
Yeah. So obviously there's like a tropical depression right now or something. You know, you had the hurricane come in. So I guess it could be worse if it was hurricane up here, which would be weird too. So Mr. Devon, here we are. You have a profound story, and we're going to get to that about how the accident did change the course of your life and a lot of probably the things that you have to do on a daily basis now to make the day work. But I want to start by just telling a little bit about who you are and where you came from. So if you would, for my listeners and viewers, share with us where you grew up, where you came from, family members, stuff like that.
Well, I was born in Memphis. I grew up when I was younger, I guess, Hernando. I grew up the rest of my life in Coldwater. My dad lived in Hernando. My mom lives in Coldwater.
Okay.
23 years old. I graduated from Hernando High School.
What year?
20.
Oh, in 2020?
Yes, sir.
Man, that's a tough year too.
Yeah, it was tough. We had the COVID. You know, I missed like the last 6 months of school because of COVID.
Dang.
Couldn't graduate like a normal person, you know.
Did you guys do like a ceremony at the house?
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest with you. There's good and bad to all that. You know, I didn't always like getting all dressed up and go out to those things, but I know some people do. But that was definitely an unfortunate time we all had to go through.
Yeah, it was definitely weird.
It was definitely weird. I'll give you that. So how many brothers, sisters you got?
I have 4 brothers.
4 brothers. Where are you at in the lineup as far as older?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yes, sir.
So they all look up to you.
I assume so.
Has anyone ever told you on the radio you sound a little bit like Elvis Presley?
Me?
Yeah.
Never heard of
It's
that.
not a bad thing. Elvis Presley he was a rock star, right, man?
Never heard it.
So here you are, growing up, you got 4 brothers, 3 brothers.
4.
4 other brothers, so 5 boys. Woo-wee. Woo-wee. My brother has 3 kids he has 4, but 3 of them are boys.
Really?
I can't imagine adding 2 more to that group. So growing up with brothers and that, what was that like for you? Rough and tumble?
Not really, because like I'm pretty much a bit older than all of them.
So you're a good bit older.
I think the oldest one is 15.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're 8 years older
So
than
yeah, I mean, it's cool now that they're getting older, but
yeah. What were you thinking about doing when you were growing up?
man, honestly, was just going with the flow.
Did you have like a game plan? Like, I want to be this. Like, I wanted to be the second baseman for the New York Yankees, but it didn't work out that way.
I did play ball my whole life growing up, and I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But I got out of that my sophomore year of high school. But my dad was always a fireman growing up, and I really liked that. I thought it was pretty cool, but I didn't go into that.
Yeah, did you ever go up to the station?
I did.
Yeah.
I was up at the station all the time seeing him.
Yeah. So that's why I always thought maybe my boys would end up being firefighters, but neither of them did either. So
It's pretty cool.
yeah.
I don't know. It just wasn't my thing, I guess.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. So other hobbies and interests. Did you have other things you did? You said you played ball.
I played
Hunting.
ball a good bit. Travel ball, school ball.
Okay.
Yeah, I hunted my whole life growing up. Deer hunting until I could drive. Started driving, got into duck hunting. And
Really?
then pretty much threw everything else to the side, and I love it.
Fishing? Did you do any of that?
I fished a little bit growing up, but it's not my favorite, but I
Yeah.
will fish.
So hunting was the thing, and duck hunting in particular.
Duck hunting is...
You have a dog on that one?
I do.
Is that one of the necessities of being a duck hunter?
Well, I'm kind of new to the dog world.
Yeah.
I got my dog 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it was after my wreck when I got my dog. But growing up, no, I did not. My stepdad had a duck dog, but I did not have one of my own growing up. No,
I got you. Well, building part of that story, the reason for that is because, we gravitate toward things we are interested in or we're exposed to, because sometimes you didn't know that you were interested in something, then all of a sudden you get to try a moment and you're like, oh man, that's awesome, right? So that's the thing I want to do. So growing up, you were, a little bit outdoorsy, it sounds like, played some sports, didn't have a big aspiration, but just going to go with the flow. When you got out of high school, were you thinking about college or, what kind of occupation maybe to start out in?
Yeah, I was planning on going to aviation school.
So being a pilot.
Well, aviation maintenance. I was going to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
And I was going to go through Northwest, which they have the program at the Olive Branch Airport.
Mm-hmm.
But something to do, I didn't get in the first year I applied. And then the second year, after my wreck, I applied, and their instructor left or something. And they were like, well, we're going to have to postpone it to next year. And I was like, I'm getting a little old, so I'm going to find something else. You know what I mean?
Isn't that funny, though, that because I get what you're saying. Yeah. All right, I get what you're saying. When we are 18, 19, maybe we're heading into 21 or 23, you're like, man, I'm starting to get old. I got to get on it. And then there are those other ones that are like 34. They haven't got the ball rolling. Like, I'm still young. I got plenty of time. I'm like, what are you doing? Life is passing you. Really yeah, so that's interesting, though, that you had that sense of urgency to get something rolling. Yeah. And you did tell me something before we got started, which I found interesting. And don't let me mess this up. So it was your mom's family that started AgriPro?
Yes, sir.
And so people around the area, if you do any kind of agriculture or anything, you know about AgriPro. That's a pretty big name.
Our Hernando location is pretty well known for the nursery.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that something that you ever entertained, was getting into that line of work?
Yeah. Actually, when COVID hit my senior year, I started doing landscape for a fella named Luke Zay, Elite Landscaping. Man,
I coached Luke. Really? Back in the day, I did, yeah. He was one of my ball players. Yep. Good little ball player, too, man.
Yeah.
The Zay family's good folks. Good folks.
Yes, they are. They're great.
So, all right, so here we are. Doing a little bit of college. Didn't get into aviation school. Now, we're going to move to that part that we've mentioned a few times. You already talked about the wreck. So we're going to talk about that because that's a big part of what happens next with you. And your story actually became a point of inspiration around Hernando and DeSoto County in general. One thing I do like about being from Hernando is, even though it's a growing city and DeSoto County is one of the largest counties, if not the largest county in the state of Mississippi, it does have a small town feel still. I mean, people know each other, whether it's sometimes they're too much in your business. I get that part. But in the end, they do care about folks. And they will rally around a cause or a moment. So on January 18th, 2022, tell me about that morning, that day starting out, because how you started that day is not how it ended.
Man, I don't even remember how I started that day, but that weekend, it was on a Monday, pretty positive on a Monday. That weekend, I had went to Texas with my girlfriend and her family to see some of her grandparents. We come back. I don't know if it was that same day or if it was the next day. But we come back, and usually I would go see her. I would get off work every day, go see her in Senatobia. We would go to the gym, and then I would go home, which is to Coldwater. So,
and just for people that are all over the world right now, so Coldwater to Senatobia is like not even 10 minutes sometimes, depending on what part of the city you're coming from.
It was about a 15, 20-minute ride.
There you go.
Okay. And so I was leaving the gym. The only thing I remember that night is leaving the gym, going to the gym, leaving the gym. I don't remember getting to her house, dropping her off. I don't remember leaving her house. I don't remember getting on the interstate. The only thing I remember is waking up in the Med in Memphis, Tennessee. And they say that this guy ran off the road headed south. So they were doing construction back then. Remember? They're doing construction on 55.
Absolutely.
They say this guy heading south, he was on drugs or whatever. He ran off the road. He hit one of the concrete barriers, and it moved it. It actually moved it into the northbound lane.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't know how, but yeah, that happened. And apparently somebody hit it before me, the barrier, going north. So
they were going southbound and knocked the barrier over into the northbound lanes.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah.
Happened.
Yeah.
They said that the fire truck was already on the way to report to the call to the people that hit it before me.
Okay.
And they say that I got on the interstate and the fire truck got on the interstate like, I don't know, half a mile behind me.
What fire department do you know?
Senatobia. It's the one off of, it's the one, I couldn't tell you what station
I asked that because I wasn't sure where exactly it was landed, because I know your dad works for Hernando.
It's right there on the square.
Okay.
In Senatobia.
I got you.
Right across from Delta Steakhouse.
Okay, yeah. I don't know what station it is, but I know where you're coming from.
Well, they say they got on the interstate behind me, and all they saw was they were headed to that call, and all they saw was headlights just go turning in the air.
So they witnessed your wreck. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And the people were still there from the previous wreck, and they were okay. They just, obviously, you have to call it in. They said that they actually checked on me first before the firemen pulled up, and they said I was dead. My truck rolled like 4 times. Apparently, I don't remember anything, but apparently I was ejected out of my sunroof.
Oh, wow.
I was not wearing my seatbelt. I personally believe, and I've heard from the others that were there, that if I had my seatbelt on, I would have been trapped and I wouldn't be here today. So, seatbelt, hit or miss, whatever. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, got ejected probably 30 yards up on the bank from my truck. Yeah, my truck was crushed.
And you don't remember any of those moments?
I don't remember anything.
Nothing. Okay. And so the people that came to check on you, I mean, if they're not medical, sometimes it's really hard to tell those things. So the fire department gets there. What are you told happens next? I'm assuming, and I don't know this part of it to be true, but I'm assuming they call for a wing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was transported by wing, but apparently the firemen got there. They found me. They checked on me. The only reason they knew I was still alive is it was still kind of cold outside, and they could see breath coming out of my mouth. So they did whatever they had to do to bring me back awake. And they said all I could say was my back hurts, and I didn't know my name. I told them I was 23 years old. I was 20 years old at the time. Told them I was 23 years old. Couldn't tell them my name. Couldn't tell them where I lived. Couldn't tell them anything.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend obviously has Life 360 on me. Right?
Okay.
So I usually text her when I get home. Well, she said that it had been a while, and I haven't texted, so she got worried. She got on 55, and she said it was just traffic backed up. And she said she knew right then and there. She said I was either okay, I was either helping somebody out, because I have the tendency to know if somebody's stuck, I'll pull them out. If somebody needs help, I'm going to help you out. I will pull over and help you out. So she said she knew either I was helping somebody out or something was wrong with me. Said she didn't know, she couldn't get me on the phone, nothing. And she couldn't get to me because of the backed up traffic on 55.
Right.
So she calls my best friend, Jaron, which lives in my neighborhood in Coldwater. We've been best friends for forever. He comes southbound so he could get to the wreck, and he calls her and says, yeah, that was Devon. His truck is upside down.
Oh, he could see your truck then. Wow.
He could see my truck. He said he ran over there, and at that time, they had me in the back of the ambulance by the time he got there. And he asked if he could talk to me, and they said, yeah. He said he tried to talk to me, and he said, I looked at him, and I was like, who are you?
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who nobody was.
Yeah. It's not that unusual.
And I know that hurt. I know that hurt him.
Yeah.
But he obviously understood.
Sure. What obvious injuries, or what injuries did they tell you had on the scene that they could tell?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't really tell me that. I don't think they knew at the time.
Yeah, like I know, like pull up on a scene, you could tell if an arm's broke, a leg's broke, stuff like that. Bleeding, obviously, there's a lot of bleeding or something. So you weren't bleeding externally.
My face was covered in blood just from the glass and the cuts. I don't know if you can see the scars on my face, but they've gotten better, but they were way worse.
Yeah.
My face was pretty bloody. My head was bloody. I do think they said that they had a feeling my back was broke, which it was.
Yeah.
I broke my my T12 to L1.
Oh, wow. All of those were fractured?
It's weird how it works, the spine.
Yeah.
I just know it was like lower back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah.
And then they call the wing, they come and they fly you up to the med.
They fly me to the med.
At this point, though, and you know, this is sometimes where technology can be a hindrance to people. It's obviously a distraction. Social media can be good or bad, right? But in the end, sometimes it's very helpful and beneficial. And so within just minutes, probably, I would say, of this incident taking place, your family is starting to be notified. So your girlfriend knew about it. Now your best friend knows about it. And you don't, obviously you're saying you don't remember any of this. So they're flying you to the hospital. Does your family let you know how soon they're notified and how quickly they're able to get to the hospital?
Yes, sir. So, like I said, my girlfriend knew something was wrong. She called my best friend, Jaren. Jaren got there. My mom was asleep. My dad was asleep. So Jaren and my girlfriend tried to call my mom. She's not answering. She is a heavy sleeper. So
what time of night is this? Do you remember?
This is around midnight.
Okay.
1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So she's not picking up the phone. So Jaren calls, because we live in the same neighborhood. Jaren calls his dad and he's like, "Hey, I need you to go bang on Devon's door, wake up his mom, Akeisha, wake her up. He's been in a wreck." So Cub, we always called him Cub, Jaren's dad. He goes to my house, he's banging on the front door. My mom comes to the door and he explains that I've been in a wreck. So I guess that's when she found out, and that's when she started heading to the med. Actually, my girlfriend called my stepmom. She picks up pretty much every time you call. I guess she's just not a heavy sleeper. So she answered the phone, and which let my dad know. My dad was home. He wasn't at the station, I don't think.
I was going to ask about that.
So I guess that's how they found out, and I guess everybody just met at the med.
And at that time, how many days was it before you remember anything? Like when you woke up and you have memory, and so this happened on, you said, a Saturday night, right? Or Sunday night?
I want to say it was either Sunday or Monday night.
Okay. So, well, we know what happened on January 18th, right?
Yes,
so then how many days after that before you have any kind of actual memory of anything when you woke up at the med?
Couldn't tell you, but I would probably guess the next day.
Okay.
I woke up, started figuring everything out. I woke up pretty mad that I was in the hospital. I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue why I was there. Nobody was really talking to me. The nurses weren't. My buddies were duck hunting that morning. I was supposed to be duck hunting that morning. So I was pretty upset because I finally got to where I could get on my phone, and they were sending me pictures of birds, and I was like, I got to go.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know I was in there.
At that point, did they know where you were?
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. But I was pretty mad because I wanted to go hunting. I told them I was leaving because I didn't think anything was wrong with me. I didn't know who I was there. And they're like, "No, you can't leave." And I was like, "Why can I not leave?" And they were like, "Well, first off, you're paralyzed." And that was like an explosion going off in my head. And I was like, "What'd you just say?" You know what I mean? Like, they're like, "Yeah, you're paralyzed. You broke your back. You had a wreck. You broke your back and you're paralyzed." And I was like, "Wow."
At that point, you didn't realize that you couldn't move your legs, or?
Had no clue.
Wow. Were you hurting anywhere when you first woke up?
No, I guess I was still pretty high on the meds.
Yeah. And so family was there with you, obviously.
Yeah. My whole family, my girlfriend, her family. But they were only letting one person in the room at the time. So it was mainly my mom in the room, and then my dad would come in, and then my girlfriend would come in. So like it was.
Yeah. So it was obviously you're figuring things out at this point, okay?
Correct.
And I understand the anger part actually. So it's interesting though that you threw the dynamic in there of the game plan that you had to go hunting
Yes.
And that was actually fueling the frustration that you couldn't just get up and go do that.
It was.
And that plays to how I started the whole conversation with us is we will wake up with game plans, ideas, thoughts, and I'm not saying we take it for granted at all. I mean, you don't walk around on thin ice in your life waiting for the next incident to take place where you disrupt your life. You make your plans and you go about those plans every day, and that's normal. That's what we have to do. That's what we should do. But whenever those moments come, and they will at times in different ways, and it's disrupted, and your life is completely flipped upside down. It's that mentality, that ability to absorb that big blow, which is much bigger than a physical blow, the mental blow. And you talked about how that frustration kind of like seeped in, and it made you angry, and that's an understandable emotion, right? So as you start to wrap your head around the fact that you're not going to be able to get up, you're not going to be able to go duck hunting that day, where does your mind shift to next? Because now the reality's setting in.
Man, I couldn't tell you. I guess I just accepted the fact, and that's when the nurses started coming in and talking more about it, and I was just like, I was still mind blown, like I didn't want to believe it. And in the back of my head, I was like, okay, this will be shaken off in 2 to 3 months.
So you still were not accepting that this was a thing
at all.
I got you.
I was not.
Was there other injuries that they had said besides the back injury?
No, sir.
That is amazing.
It is crazy.
I mean, you think about it. You got ejected from a vehicle, and you're on the interstate, so assumingly you're doing 60, 70 miles an hour. It's the interstate speeds.
Right.
And you hit this object that's not movable.
Right.
You go rolling, it throws you out of the car, and you have a back injury. And there could have been so many other things going on, obviously. I can understand why you're in disbelief.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I not hurt worse?
It was weird. It was very weird.
Not that that's not enough, but I'm just saying it's like, you look down, you think my leg should be broke, my arm should be broke, whatever. But it's not that.
When they told me I was paralyzed, I was thinking, okay, I broke both my legs. Like, at the time, I've obviously seen paralyzed people. I've known what paralyzation is, like, but at the time I was like, okay, they told me I'm paralyzed, my legs are broke. I just can't move my legs. And they're like, no, you broke your back, your legs are fine, but you are paralyzed, so no, you cannot move your legs, but they're not broke. So I kind of learned what goes on being paralyzed. But
the idea that when you have a life-changing injury, and I've spoke to so many different folks. I had a firefighter on here, severely burned, his whole head, his whole face, everything. And your life changes so drastically, so much, so quickly. There is a place you have to get to. It's just like if you have grief, anger, frustration, sadness, depression, you'll go through all these different emotions, but then you have to get to that point of acceptance. But the acceptance isn't that you're going to accept your condition. The acceptance is this thing has happened. Correct. So now the next step is, how do I move forward?
Correct.
So how long were you in the hospital at that moment?
I was in the med for a week. Yeah, I was in the med for a week. They flew me out January 28th to the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
It's a very big rehab center facility. Yeah, they flew me out January 28th to Shepherd Center, and that's where I started my rehab. I think I was at the Shepherd Center for 2 to 3 months.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's a long time away from home.
Yeah.
Did you have family or friends that were able to go down?
Yes, sir. Believe it or not, my girlfriend, she was in college at the time.
And so she went down there?
She flew down there with me, yes. And then my mom met me down there. My girlfriend flew with me down there. I was not expecting her to stay with me the whole time down there because I knew she was in school. I didn't know how she was going to take this, being so young. But she powered through it. She came down there with me, stayed a couple of days, about maybe a week. I can't really remember. But she had to go home, talk to her professors. And she basically told them, she was like, look, she was like, I'm moving to Atlanta for a couple months. She was like, I won't be attending class. She was like, if I need to drop out, I'll drop out. But if not, I will do my homework, my work online. And that's what she did. She took care of me. She helped take care of me in the hospital down there while doing college work.
Yeah. How long had y'all been together before this?
Before my wreck. So that's 2022. We were together for 2 years.
Okay.
Before my wreck. Yeah.
Wow. Look, I don't have to tell you this. When you face life and it's hitting you right in the face with the hardest blows it has, and you have people in your corner,
Man, it's awesome.
dude,
It's awesome.
there's where you get the strength.
It's awesome.
Because I was about to go to the next part. Where did you start to find the strength to fight back? When did you start to, and clearly I'm seeing you have people to fight for
Correct.
beyond yourself.
Yes, sir.
So what was that 2 months like or 3 months like when you're down there? What is the daily routine for you?
At first, kind of sucked. So at the Shepherd Center, they have a hospital area where you can stay like you're at the med, I guess, but it's way nicer. And then after you're in the hospital for so long, you don't need to be in the hospital area. They have like these apartment complexes that are attached to the same building, just a different building. So where you move there is called outpatient.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the hospital at Shepherd Center for probably a month and a half. And then they moved me to the outpatient, which is, they put us in our own apartment. And I mean, it's just like having a job, man. Even in the hospital, obviously it was easier in the hospitals. I had the nurses come help me wake up and get ready for the day. But it's just like having a job. You were there, you woke up at 7, 8 o'clock. You had different rehab hours throughout the day, like different stations, I guess.
I would assume like a regimented, you're going to do these many things today at this time and then at this time.
It's
and
like
so
class, kind of, almost like switching class in school.
I got you.
So like I would get up at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whenever my first class started, I would get up, get ready for that. And then I did rehab throughout the day. And then when I was done with rehab, usually got done about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would just go back to my room in the hospital. You know, I could do whatever I wanted, just hang out. I actually made a really good friend down there. It's from Collierville. He had a wreck, same kind of wreck that I had in Collierville. I think it was the week before mine. And we were actually, believe it or not, it's kind of crazy how it happened. We had similar friends, but never met this fella in my life. He's same age as me. He was in the med across the hall the same time. At the same time.
Wow.
It's weird. Yes, sir. And then we both went to Atlanta. I think he went to Atlanta a couple of days before me, and then that's when I went. And we were in the same room. Well, not the same room, but across the hall again. And so obviously him and my mom were talking. I mean, his mom and my mom started talking about the situation, and they became to know each other. And then when they took us out of like the emergency room at Shepherd's and put us in our real like hospital room, whatever, we were next door neighbors.
Wow.
So
I don't think any of that's by accident.
I don't either. I don't at all. So we became friends. We started hanging out. His condition is pretty much the same but different. He had a few more worse things than I did, which is it's just how it goes. Like he ended up having a stroke, I believe, and so that kind of like messed up his hands a little bit. You know what I mean? So like my upper body was completely fine. It was my lower body that was messed up on me. It was waist down for me that was paralyzed. I couldn't move anything, couldn't feel anything. And him, he was pretty much the same thing. Which it was weird, man. It was like we had our own differences, but same accident, same problem. But yeah, we started hanging out, became pretty good friends, and we actually go to the same therapist down here
to this day.
To this day.
Wow.
I see him twice a week.
How about that?
He's awesome. He's a great dude.
Yeah. Well, so obviously when we go through difficult times, and I say this obviously, but it is obvious to me, we do find strength through other people's struggle, which is a big part of why this platform, in my opinion, is so important, because I have not experienced what you've experienced, but there are a lot of people in this world that have experienced what you're experiencing.
There is.
And they need to see that there's hope on the other side of things and that there can be a positive tomorrow, which is why I love to have guests in from all walks of life that have experienced tons of things to share that moment with other people, because that's where we get strength from. So for you in that moment, maybe, or vice versa, because who knows, or maybe it was a lean on both. You guys needed that other person to know what the other individual was going through, and you weren't in this world alone going through that thing. And that, my friends, probably gave both of you the strength you needed.
100%. And I don't have a doubt in my mind that it was just so happened to be that way.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in the Lord, and I believe he knew what he was doing. And
I think that's a fantastic comment, because a person could see this situation on the outside that doesn't have that faith,
Yes.
and say, well, this bad thing happened to you. That's not fair. You didn't do anything to deserve it. But the truth is, and I say this with all of my heart, the truth is God never promised us an easy life.
Never.
He never promised us that we wouldn't face pain, but he did promise us that he would see us through, and he would give us those things that we need.
Correct.
In the moment we need it most. And that's what he did for you.
He hasn't left my side.
So here you are. You're gaining strength. You're getting better. What are those weeks like? How do you see progress when you're down there in Texas? I'm sorry, in Georgia.
I get told I'm hard-headed a lot.
Mm-hmm. You gotta be. I think you gotta be.
I believe it. So when it first happened, we get down there and I'm mad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm mad. I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I'm like, why me? I'm mad. Start doing therapy. I'm like, this is BS. Like, but I started to see things through, and I was like, you know what? We're just gonna do it. And I couldn't tell you how long it was after I started therapy. So, like I just said earlier, at the beginning I was waist down, nothing. Correct. Couldn't tell you how long it was into therapy. I was just doing therapy one day with my therapist, laying on this bed doing some exercises like leg exercises and stuff, and she had walked off to go get me something. Couldn't tell you what it was.
Is she your girlfriend or the therapist?
No, the therapist.
Okay.
She had walked off to go get something to help with therapy, and I was just laying there, and I was just like, man, like, I need these things to wake up. Talking about my legs, like, I need them to wake up. I need my legs back. And at the time, I couldn't move anything in my legs. And I started trying to move my leg, and my quads, my right quad, I felt it move, and I was like, it caught me very off guard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked down, and I like tried to flex the muscle again, and like I could see it moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I freaked out, and I was like I couldn't believe it.
That was that little ounce of hope you needed.
Yes,
that you could keep moving.
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there messing with it, and like I felt it and I saw it, which it was not much at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was not much at all, but I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
And she comes back, and I was just like telling her about it, and yeah, that's probably when I gained all my hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm not in this fight alone. Like, I've been praying about it. I'm not in this fight alone. Like,
yeah, there is something that you can do, and
like
you can move
the Lord's
forward.
walking beside me. He's
That's
helping
right.
me out. So I was like, you know what? From here on out, I'm going 110%.
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's what I did, and it just got better over the days doing therapy with them. Standing up, learning how to take care of myself on my own, learning how to dress myself, without all that strength down there, like without standing up. You having to learn how to dress yourself in the chair, learning how to wash yourself sitting down, learn how to, all of that, that you're used to doing,
Mm-hmm.
but now you're in a wheelchair and you can't get up.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that? That's what they taught me, and then they're also teaching me, like, trying to strengthen my muscles up. So that's what Shepherd Center did for me. It was probably, I don't know, 3 weeks to a month before I left Atlanta, before I was done being there. I was an outpatient, so I was getting up on my own, just like going to work. You have to get up, you have to be at therapy at a certain time. I started telling them, I was getting frustrated because they weren't really wanting to walk with me much. They weren't really wanting to do what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, I want to learn how to walk again. I done figured out how to dress myself. I done figured out how to take care of myself. I want to learn how to walk again. And they're like, okay. So
was anyone ever telling you can't? That you won't be able to this or you won't be able to that?
I don't think anybody ever told me I won't ever be able to, or that I can't ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, my doctor was saying that there's a possibility I wouldn't ever. And he wasn't telling me that I could ever walk again, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think he ever told me that I would never be able to walk again. But
Yeah.
he definitely never told me that I would be able to.
So the idea here is, and what I'm saying that for is the fact that, sometimes whenever a person doesn't feel like there's any hope at all, they could give up. But it sounds like to me, you got mad. Mad wasn't giving up. Mad was you were just frustrated situation, but you were going to do every single thing you possibly could 1,000 times over and then do it 1,001 if necessary.
Yes, sir.
And the doctors, and this is the part here that I hope is the message. I'm a medical professional, I'm a paramedic, been doing this for a long time. Whenever I saw someone in a tough spot, I never wanted to take away any idea of hope or thought of hope that they could have by saying, this is where you are and this is where you'll never be again.
Right.
But you got to be honest too. You got to be like, the road ahead's going to be really tough.
Oh, for sure.
And it's going to require so much of you. So the question is, how much are you willing to give? And it sounds like at this point, you are already making that turn. You're like, all right, I know where I'm at. I know how tough this is, but I want to go to the next step. I've got it. I can do my daily stuff now. I want to get up and move again. Right. So what does that process start to look like?
I just started figuring out that this is real life. It wasn't just going to come back. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just going to be a month or two and it just come back and I'll be back normal. No, I realized that this is it. I'm actually paralyzed. This is how life is going to be. And I was like, all right, so we're going to kick another gear. Like, I'm going to work even harder at this. And so I started telling my therapist in outpatient therapy, I wanted to start walking. I don't care how you want to help me. I don't care how we do it. I want to get up on my feet. I want to stand up. I want to take steps.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, I still can't move or feel my feet.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to take steps, my feet would just, they wouldn't pick up. They want to drag.
Yeah.
So I started doing that with them with a walker. And I would walk, 10 feet with the walker. My legs were still really weak at the time. Could barely really pick them up and move them. But they did, before I left, they fitted me for braces. It's just, they go halfway up, not even all the way up to my knees. It's just to hold my feet up. So when I do want to walk with a walker, or my feet don't drag.
Yeah.
And so I got those like right before my time was up at Shepherd Center. And I get home, I had known my brother Jace was going to see this guy in Senatobia for therapy.
I want to go down that road, but let's just also mention to the listeners, what did you tell me before the show started? 3 years prior to your accident, somewhere in there?
Yes, sir.
Your brother had a really bad side-by-side accident.
Yes,
and had significant injuries and had to rehab and go through all this stuff.
Yes,
so
sir.
Your family had been through a very tragic injury to a child already.
Yeah, my dad and stepmom have been through it already.
And then here comes Devon, the oldest, and upping the ante a little bit. And so you get home and your brother, and so this is a really amazing part too. Your brother had been through, some folks that you were sharing with me were not necessarily physical therapists, but they were.
Yes,
I don't know what you would title him.
Really, if you were to walk in that place, it's just a gym. He's a trainer. He's a trainer. He's a trainer.
Yeah. Okay. So go down that road because this is really inspirational.
So this guy named Connie Burton, Fitness 2000 in Senatobia, Mississippi, right next to Delta Steakhouse on the square. Mm-hmm. Little small gym.
Do you see it's interesting? It circles back to where the fire station is, right across from Delta.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I want to put that in there. Keep going, sir.
Cool. Connie Burton, he owns the gym. Him and his crew worked with my brother doing therapy and rehab and strengthening his muscles back up. And I had been watching my brother's progress, but I wasn't watching it that close, if that makes sense. So I really didn't think much of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
When I get home, my dad and my stepmom, they're like, hey, he did really good with Jace. Like, you ought to just give him a try. Well, let me back up. When I get home, of course, insurance is going to want me to go do therapy and rehab somewhere they want me to go.
Right.
Which was Methodist in Germantown. I think that's right, Methodist in Germantown. So I started going to Methodist Germantown Rehab Center. And I could tell from the first time I went that wasn't going to last long. Because, I'm the type of guy, if I see something that is not worth it, or I'm gonna speak my mind. They weren't doing much. They were there for the insurance money,
No, I get what you're saying. They were going through the motions.
Right.
They're checking boxes.
I mean, they weren't doing much at all to help me. And I would tell them, like, hey, I want to work on this. I want to work on that. I want to walk. I mean, they were just doing the little stuff that didn't, I guess it could have mattered, but it really didn't matter at the time. And I told my mom, I was like, look, this ain't going to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need something better. Like, if I'm going to get better, this is not the place. I'm going to get better.
Devin, I got to add right here. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when you say things, man, I want people to catch this part. So this is, man, that is really amazing at a young age like you were to be able to recognize you weren't getting what you need. But I've had so many guests on this show talk about, in particularly, health paths where you have to be in tune with what you know you need and be the biggest advocate for you. Sure. And don't expect someone else to have always your best interest in mind or understand where you're trying to go in your life, whether that is, cardiac related or physically fitness related or whatever the situation is. So many people have come on here and shared those moments of they took ownership of their own personal path. Correct. And that's what you were doing, sir. And you already mentioned earlier that you were stubborn. And I think that is a big key and element. You got to be hard-headed in a way that is productive, right? So you don't always want to push away good advice, but you've got to be determined and you've got to not give up easy if you're going to make it when you're in some tough waters. And so that's what you were doing. Right. And so you recognize this and you mentioned to your mom, what does she say about it?
She was like, well, why don't you keep trying it out? Insurance is paying for it. I had so many days a year that insurance was going to pay for me to go to this rehab place at the hospital. And I was like, okay, whatever. I think I went for another month maybe. And really, honestly, truly, it was just a waste of my time. Mm-hmm. I was grateful for it. Don't get me wrong. I was grateful to have the opportunity to go see those people and do the rehab there, like some people may not have. But I saw it as like, I'm wasting my time here. Like, if I want to get better, if I want to get stronger, if I want to get back normal, this is not the place. I need something better. I need somebody that actually cares about me and not there because insurance sent me there.
It's a job.
Yeah. Literally. Mm-hmm. They're there at their job. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're nice people.
I know that you're being very careful about balancing, not sounding like you're ingrateful or angry at them. I think that's a fair comment. What you're saying is that you recognized you needed something more, right. And that's not necessarily a knock on them. Maybe they were doing, quote, their job, right. But that wasn't enough for you, right. And you needed to be pushed, and you were asking for that. Right. And I think that's good. That's an important factor. You understood where you were and you understood where you wanted to go. Correct. And maybe sometimes people don't see that same vision. And what I would tell people is it doesn't have to be something like this. I think that's every aspect of your life. If you have people that are in your circle that are not helping you grow and you're wanting to grow, and it doesn't matter if that is education, it doesn't matter if that is relationships. If you find yourself in a position where you want to grow from where you are and what you're getting is not feeding that, You've got to hit reset and go somewhere else. You only get one shot at life, man.
100%.
And that's what you did. And I think that's huge, man. That's huge.
I was not letting this go down the drain.
Right. And so at what point is your mom like, all right, Devin, let's do this thing?
I'm sure we got into it.
All right.
Me and my mom, we love each other to death. But we will argue with each other. And it may sound bad, but if I want to do something, I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
I put my mind to it, I'm going to do it. She finally was just like, whatever. I don't know where you're going to go. And I was like, okay. So I reached out to my dad, my stepmom, about Connie at Fitness 2000 in Senatobia. And I was like, I want to try him out. And they've been telling me about him. And I was like, I want to try him out. So I go meet with Connie in Senatobia at this gym. Never met the guy before in my life. Awesome fella. Mm-hmm. He checks me out, and as soon as I'm not gonna lie to you, as soon as I get in this gym, I see how small it is. I just don't see what I was looking for. But I still let him take a shot at it. Mm-hmm. He took me to the back, and he's just asked me about my rec. He asked me what I could do, what I can't do. He put some bands around my legs, and he was like, "Okay, now lift up your legs." And I couldn't lift up my legs, and so he did it for me, and it was like an exercise. And then he was like, "Okay, move your legs to the side," and I was like, "I can't do it." And so after that, I signed up for 2 days a week, and that's what I'm still doing. And I just started going, and I believed in him, and I let him do his thing. And I could tell my legs were getting stronger. I could read him as the type of guy he was not going to give up on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it a lot. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't giving up on myself, and I needed somebody in there with me that wasn't going to give up on me also, that was trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I started to like this guy. And man, our relationship grew. It just grew. Like, we are so close now. Like, I've been going to him for 2 years, but it didn't take long for me to realize, like, yeah, this is what I was been looking for. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you would not walk into that gym and think, okay, yeah, he's gonna work with people like me. No, but he has a talent. Him,
Yeah.
his Connie Burton, his partner. We call him Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome. Me and Hollywood have a great relationship. They were partners. They've always been partners throughout their lives, and they worked with me. And he obviously has other employees that help. And yeah, that's where I started out with him, and we just kept doing exercises.
Did you guys set goals? Did you have like, by this time, let's see if I can do X, Y, and Z?
Oh, trust me, he pushed me, and he had plenty of goals.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering, because like if you're exercising or if you're trying to get into running, you're like, all right, well, I want to do a 5K by this day. Or this month, and then I want to do a 10K. So you want to have progressive goals. And if you don't make the 5K at that timeline, all right, well, we're going to push it this far, and we're going to get the 5K at this point. So what were the goals like for you?
His first goal was, honestly, his goal, I walked in, he looked at me, he said, "You're going to walk." And I just thought in my head, and I was like, yeah, probably not, but we'll see. And he kept saying, "You're going to walk. You're going to walk. You're going to walk." He said, "I don't know when." He said, "But you're going to walk."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this guy actually has faith in me. Like, he wants the better for me.
He's not seeing the limitations. He's seeing the possibilities.
I mean, obviously we had to start from the bottom.
Sure.
My legs were still very weak. He built my muscles up in my legs. He built my quads up pretty strong in my legs. And then that's when my other muscles were starting to work a little bit better. And I think we worked on, like, he has this in the back of his gym. It's like a it's made out of wood 2x4s.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can walk into it. It's got a handle running down each side. And he put me in there, and he was like, "Stand up, take some steps, stand up, get comfortable." Because at the time, like, I could barely stand up. And so we worked on standing up. He got me to where I could grab onto something, stand up without my braces on, and stand there.
I remember that picture, actually, on social media.
Yeah.
That moment you're talking about, the first time anyways.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure there was lots more after that, but the first time, I just remember your dad had posted a picture on Facebook about that.
Yeah. And so he got me to where I could stand up, and as long as I was holding on to something, I could stand up. I couldn't do it very long back then, but like today, I could have stood up during this whole podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just kept working. We kept working. And it finally got to the point where I was holding on to his shoulders, taking a few steps here and there, and then we would, like, move to, like, holding a broom. Like, he's on one end of the broom, I got the other end of the broom, and we're just walking, obviously very baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Very clumsy, very wobbly. My balance wasn't that great.
But doing something nobody thought you'd do.
Correct. Like, I would have never myself thought that I was going to be at least getting up on my feet and taking steps again.
Yeah.
But he helped my balance. He got my balance where I was at. Like, he worked my core real well, which helps your balance. And to this day, I still go in there twice a week. I'm actually got to the point where, actually this week, Monday I didn't start, but I've been walking. So like his lap, you can make his gym, you can make like a lap around the gym. And it got to the point where I was walking laps around the gym with my braces on, with him or somebody walking beside me or with me.
Wow.
And Monday actually is the first time I walked. I stood up out of my chair. I got up by myself, didn't grab anything to pull up, stood up by myself, and walked 3 laps around the gym with nobody walking with me.
Hold on.
By myself.
We're on Friday. You're talking about this past Monday?
This past Monday.
Get out of here.
I've been walking.
4 days ago.
I've been walking, but it's always been somebody walking with me.
Yeah.
2 people on the side of me, somebody behind me. But yeah, this Monday, he was like, okay, you're going to get up and you're going to walk by yourself. I was like, okay.
Have you heard the words that's a miracle?
No, yes, that is 100% a miracle.
Yeah. Wow. Man. Devon, I didn't know that. I mean, I've known parts of your story, like we said when we started.
Yes, sir.
I've been friends with your dad for years. Not friends in the sense we go hang out each other and cook out, but like if I see your dad at Walmart, I'm going to go give him a hug in a weird way. So it's just, we've been friends for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I knew parts of your story, but man, I had no idea. And then we're talking 4 days ago from this moment right now while we're recording this podcast, you do something that there's no way the doctors and the therapist out in Germantown, and no knock on them, would have thought Devon Rickett would have been doing.
No. I'm telling you right now.
This is incredible.
Out of everybody I worked with, Connie and his team at Fitness 2000, they're awesome people and they're not going to give up on you. They have pushed me to my max. I mean.
What kind of celebration was that Monday? Was there some cheering?
I mean, yeah.
Come on.
It was awesome. But, I mean, I've been walking with my braces for quite a while now, probably close to a year. But I haven't been that great. My balance hasn't been that great. I'm still building up stamina, like walking farther and longer. But yeah, I done got to the point where he has trained me and taught me to get out of my chair, stand up out of my chair by myself, and just start walking.
So here it is, just a little over 2 years ago that this incident happens.
Yes, sir.
You do 3 laps around the gym this past Monday. Aside from that, we even talked before the show, you've went back. How soon was it you went back to doing the things you used to like to do, like hunting, going duck hunting, going deer hunting?
Probably as soon as I got home from Atlanta.
As soon as you could possibly get back up and get going again, huh?
Yeah, so, I'm not the type to sit around. I mean, I cannot stand to be in the house. Let's go back to Atlanta. I was cooped up in those rooms a lot. So it got to the point where my mind was getting the best of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to be there. So it got to the point where when I got out of therapy around, 3 o'clock every day, I would come back to the apartment and Lydia, my girlfriend, would be in there and I'm like, look, you don't have to come. You can do what you want, but I can't be in this room. I've got to go outside. I've got to go for a stroll. I've got to do something. Like I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
And that got to be an everyday thing until we left. And if I sat in that room, it was just like dark thoughts, like bad thoughts, So I could not be in that room. But I've always been like that my whole life. I can't sit still. I can't be cooped up in a house. I've got to be moving. I've got to be doing something.
I feel you on that. I've got the ADHD, as they say. Yeah, so it's like I can't sit still either. But that driving force behind you, I think that's probably a big part of what people start to lose when they fall into depression. And it's easy to start to see. Yeah, and I can assure you, and no doubt about that for you, right? So it's a lot of reasons why it should be there. But the way to push past that, of course, is to find those positive moments and to work towards those things that you do enjoy and you do like and to have possibilities. And so for people that find themselves in a life-altering incident, and it doesn't have to be being paralyzed, it could be a lot of things. Right. What kind of words would you give them? What kind of wisdom would you give them? What kind of hope would you give them?
All I can say is it's going to suck in the beginning. Don't give up. Hold your head high. You're going to have your downs. You're going to have your battles. You're going to have the devil in your head. If you're not close with the Lord, you need to get close to the Lord, and He will be your best friend, and you cannot let the devil win. Keep your head high, don't give up, and just push. Don't give up on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you give up on yourself, you're going to go downhill quickly, and then it can end up pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost went there.
And it's understandable, right?
Almost
So
certainly.
sometimes whenever you find yourself trying to move forward, and I think this applies to every business owner that I've ever known in my life as well, you find yourself making maybe 1 or 2 steps in the right direction, but then sometimes you take 3 or 4 in a backwards direction.
Correct.
And it's that just absolute determination to not give up, to take those next 2 steps again and keep trying to do those little incremental moments to progress and to be a better tomorrow than it was today. And I think that takes mental focus and mental toughness. And I think you've already mentioned it several times. It helps to have a support system,
It does.
to have
Big
those people
time.
in your corner to look out after you.
Big time, and I'm very blessed with the people in my life. Number one, my girlfriend, she's been there through day one, and if you want me to be real with you,
I do.
I didn't know if she's going to stay or leave me when I had my wreck.
I think that's a fair thought.
I wouldn't have been mad if she left, but I had no clue, and that was one of my biggest fears. But she pulled through, and she really showed her love, and it meant a lot to me. And my friends in my life, man, they never gave up on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can tell you right now, there's somebody right now that's watching this video, that's listening to this podcast, man, and to hear your gratitude, to hear the stuff that you've been through, to see where you are today, they're finding courage, and we feed off of each other, whether it's negative or positive in every day. And that's why I've decided a long time ago that Coach Camp is going to be a voice of positivity.
Yes.
But it's not about me. It's about us. It's always about us.
Correct.
That's why I said motivate with Coach Camp, because it's not something any one person should try to do. But as we work together as a team, man, we can reach a lot of people. And right now, your message and your story is reaching people that you may never know. Devon, you may never ever know the people's names. Now, I get messages weekly from people all over the world, actually, that
Really?
tell me about you're such and such person that you had on this topic. Gave me hope. It gave me inspiration. It showed me that there is something else out there that I can go toward. And right now, this is the beauty that I want you to understand. All these things that's happened to you and the tough road that you went through, it's not without purpose, and it's not lost in vain. Whenever you take that moment of darkness and you bring forth the light and you give people that message of hope and determination and show them what is possible, because that's what you've done, Devon. That's what you've done. And coming down here to the studio today, sharing this and being very vulnerable. And it's not an easy story probably to recount.
It's not.
You have touched people that you'll never know, sir. And you have had an impact right now. The ripple effect is real, man. So just know this: the family that supported you, the girlfriend that has never left you, the friends that stood beside you, those people now have a story of your life that they get to share with people, of inspiration.
100%.
You, sir, had a purpose. You have a purpose, and you're fulfilling your purpose.
100% believe that.
Stay focused
This
on
is
that.
part of God's plan.
It is part of God's plan, sir.
I'll always question why me, but I mean, it is what it is.
You can always feel like a victim to a lot of things. You're absolutely right, sir.
Right.
It's the mindset to move forward and to understand that things do happen. It's what you do with
I
it
think I
next.
realized that it was part of His plan, and He wants me to be a testimony. So that's why I haven't given up. That's why I'm doing the best I can to survive this. I want to live through Him.
Yeah, man. Your challenge is being faced.
See that anything's possible.
Absolutely.
I may not have the worst condition out there, but I mean, it's definitely not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, but I mean, I still get up and go to work. I still get up and go hunt. I still do everything I used to do. It might be a little harder, and I might need a little help here and there, but I'm still doing it. I'm not just laying in the bed all day. I'm not just.
You didn't give up on life,
No.
because life is worth living, my friend.
Oh, 100%.
Life is worth living. Well, we're getting close to the finish line here, but I would like for my viewers to kind of get a glimpse into the future. Sometimes, we started this show out, and a lot of things do circle back. And I started out with the idea that we start out every day with ideas, thoughts, dreams, passions, goals,
Right.
and we achieve a lot of those along the way if we have those center focus. But sometimes life does come and disrupt. But here you are, you've reset, you've hit reset, you're moving forward, you've progressed. What should the world expect from Devon in the next 5 years, 10 years? Where you got your eyes set on for sights? Because I think there's a great message here, and we're just curious. What do you got going on next?
Man, I'm gonna work I'm gonna work hardest until I'm back on my feet and I don't need this chair anymore. And my therapist tells me that every time I see him. He always says, one day we're gonna have a victory party and you're gonna bundle that chair up and put it away. And I'm not giving up until that happens. And I'm just gonna keep living my life. I'm not giving up. That's not happening.
That's awesome, man. Well, look, you are an inspiration, and your story is profound. And in the end, my friend, I'm so glad that you agreed to come down and share this story, because I know folks really need this.
Not a problem. It was. I was definitely nervous. I'm not good at public speaking, but it's not a problem.
Hopefully, I did okay with you.
You did great.
Yeah, I like to talk. My wife will tell you that. She's like, is it time for you to go to the studio? Go down to the studio. Well, Devon, look, man, thank you so much for coming down here and being a part of this. I love you, brother. And your dad, I mean, whenever I see him at the Walmart, you know, I'm probably going to go up and give him a rear hug and pick him up off the ground or something. It's just what I do.
Yes,
he knows it's coming.
Yes, sir.
All right, my friend. Well, look, I look forward to hearing about your future, where you're going, and I expect an invitation to the wedding.
100%.
Absolutely. Hey, look, to my listeners out there, thank you guys for tuning in. You guys know right now that these messages, these stories, it's for the world. It's for everybody to pick up some strength, some inspiration, and we hope to just continue to bring this to you each and every single week. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is I want you to go to my website, motivatebycoachcamp.com. Go to my YouTube, subscribe, and until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, man.